Am I the butthole for refusing to remove my tattoo for my girlfriend because of the name? I, 26 male, have been going with my girlfriend over a year. This is the first time she brings up being uncomfortable with it, and she didn't want to say anything before. So when I was 18, my ex-girlfriend and I had a baby boy. He was most beautiful little baby I ever seen, and so small. I loved him the minute he was born. My boy was born premature and he was in the NICU. He didn't make it though. It was hard and it messed me up for a long time. Sometime after my son passed, I got his name tattooed on my chest with his birth date on it. My girl didn't see it right away, obviously, because I'd have to be shirtless for anyone to see it. I told her the story first time she saw it. Now she says it's been bothering her for a while, didn't want to say anything before because she thought she would get over it. The problem is my son's name is her ex's name and he was horrible. Like pure evil, and she went through a lot to get him out of her life permanently. So seeing me with his name on my chest always reminds her of him, and she's asking me to get it removed. My girlfriend says she knows it's my son's name and all. But times when we're at the beach and I'm shirtless, or we're showering together or about to get into it, she sees my tattoo and her mind goes to him. I told her I don't want to have it removed. It means something to me having my son's name on me because he's not a part of my life in any other way. Tried to be sincere and understanding cause I know her ex was crap, but my girlfriend is still mad at me. She said she thought after being open and honest about her feelings that I take that into consideration. And I'm being a butt basically for not wanting to give her this comfort at least. But I don't know what I could do. My son's name happened to be her ex's too. We can't change that and still like to keep my boy's name. Am I the butthole? You're not the butthole in my opinion. That really sucks for your girlfriend, but 1. She doesn't have jurisdiction of your body. 2. Your trauma and pain are just as valid as hers. It seems like she needs to find ways to heal from what her ex did to her, and she shouldn't expect you to remove a tattoo for your son, because she is uncomfortable with it. What if your son was alive? Would she want you to change his name? I am so sorry for your loss, that's heartbreaking, and I wish you peace and love. As someone else who had a very crafty ex/abusive/toxic, I saw his name everywhere and had to learn to move forward and not associate that very common name with my own pain and trauma. Maybe your girlfriend needs to work on doing the same. Just some words of advice for her, not meaning to sound harsh. Best of luck to you, not the butthole. Original poster replies. Yeah, you make a good point about the name change thing. It would have been unavoidable. I can suggest therapy if she's open to it. I just want us to move past this and not have this be what breaks us up. Everything else has been good. Sorry dude, you do you, but after knowing the backstory to the tattoo, the selfishness behind even asking would be setting major alarm bells going for me. She clearly doesn't consider your tragic loss, as in the worst loss anyone can go through, above her dislike/trauma over an ex. I don't think it's fair to reduce her feelings to dislike/trauma. Putting the dislike first makes it seem like you are not taking her seriously. Being in an abusive relationship is incredibly damaging and can take years to work through. This is not to say that original poster should get his tattoo removed or covered, but his girlfriend's feelings are valid and she has a right to express them. He should know that seeing the tattoo triggers her trauma response. Part of being in a healthy relationship is being able to communicate things like that. I agree with everyone saying that she needs to work through it, but it's not going to be quick and easy, and it's unkind to act as if she is being selfish or unreasonable. Edit. Okay, I hear all of you. The request to remove his tattoo was selfish, but it came from an understandable place. I think that we can agree that she didn't handle her response to the tattoo appropriately, but still have empathy for her experience. She said she thought after being open and honest about her feelings that I take that into consideration. And I'm being a butt basically for not wanting to give her this comfort at least. This sounds reasonable to you. Original poster makes it clear he is considering her feelings, while she believes her pain trumps his own and in his bodily autonomy. She doesn't appear to understand it's on her to do the work to heal herself, but rather that everyone else should work to accommodate her. Of course, it takes years to work through this kind of stuff, if anyone can ever truly put it behind them. She's going for the quick and easy option here. She acts like being honest and open is a magical token that grants her wishes. You are 100% correct. Girlfriend was open and honest, Original poster understands where she's coming from, but that does not mean her request is reasonable. Being honest can sometimes be or appear selfish, and that's fine as long as everyone can see where each other is coming from and reach a compromise or be more considerate of the other's position. I totally see where she's coming from with the history of abuse, and I also see that it's an unreasonable ask, but to her, may seem like the only possible solution. Original poster seems very mature, and I hope they can both work through the difficulties in their past in a healthy, healing way. There isn't a compromise here. She's invalidated his trauma and is being manipulative about it. His son died. He can't remove that trauma, and it's disgusting to ask someone to get rid of something that honors him. Like, I get her feelings. I really do. But it was so out of line to even ask or consider having him do it. I've been through a somewhat similar, but extremely less severe, version of this. My uncle had a toxic ex with the same first name as me. My grandma decided to start calling me by my middle name. Yeah, you don't get to change my identity because a name triggers you. Luckily, that didn't last long. For reference, my grandma is a diagnosed narcissistic sociopath. I highly doubt this is the case for original poster's girlfriend. However, it is a narcissistic thing to do, asking him to remove it, not the being uncomfortable part. She's not taking his trauma into consideration. I think they need to break up. She shouldn't have to be triggered all the time, but this is his son he's memorializing. It's a sucky situation. ETA, after thinking about it, I don't even think removing the tattoo would stop her being triggered. She would still know it was there. If it were covered up, she'd still know what's underneath. So not only is it an request, it's one that might not even accomplish the goal. She acts like being honest and open is a magical token that grants her wishes. Wonderfully said. This is exactly what I was thinking. I mean, open communication is great and everything, but that doesn't mean people have to give you whatever you want because you expressed how you feel about it. One of the biggest fights of our marriage ensued when my wife was insisting on getting her way on something I felt was out of her jurisdiction. She said, "Don't my feelings matter?" I said, "Do you think they're the only thing that matters?" Big fight. Exactly. Let's go back to if his son had lived. Would she ask him not to see his son anymore? Ask boyfriend not to speak his name? Original poster said that she stated when she sees the tattoo, her thoughts go to him. She needs to seek help on mastering and dealing with her trauma. Asking original poster to remove the tattoo would add trauma to his experience, the way she says he is adding to hers, but he should deal with it. Big alarm bells there. So not the butthole and, original poster, if she refuses therapy, move on. I've been through both Op's experience and the girlfriend's experience, minus the tattoo, and a big thing I've learned with PTSD and mental health is that the trauma is not your fault, but you are responsible for the healing. It is on you not to inflict your mental health struggle on others or try to control others to minimize your own discomfort. One of the purposes of therapy is to minimize your triggers and find coping tools to deal when you are triggered. You are allowed to remove triggers in your environment/your life when it doesn't impact others, but no good medical professional is going to tell you that you need to avoid a trigger for the rest of your life at all costs. It makes no difference if that tattoo is a name or if it was a noose or something. That is someone else's body. Her request is not only not okay, it's not helping her either. I've dated someone who felt like all triggers need to be scourged from her life, and as the years went on, the threshold for her getting triggered got lower and lower until she basically couldn't go anywhere or discuss anything without getting upset. Agreed. We're not at fault for experiencing trauma, but we're most definitely responsible for our own healing. I've been in an abusive relationship too. If my next boyfriend's son shared a name with my abusive ex, I'd want to reassociate that trigger by getting to know about the son. That way when I see the tattoo I think of the person for whom it was intended, my boyfriend's beloved son, not my stupid ex. She is intentionally ignoring his trauma in favor of hers. Not only is she disrespecting his bodily autonomy by getting upset at him for not changing his body on her request, she's doing the exact thing to him she's accusing him of. Hypocritically complaining that he's not taking her feelings into consideration while outright refusing to consider his. She has zero right to be mad, and every right to be sad and attempt to find a new solution. He did the healthy thing by listening and acknowledging, he then stood by his boundary of not wanting to remove the tattoo. Her response is unhealthy, and actually cruel. Her feelings are valid. How she is currently expressing them to him is not. Think about the situation. She went straight into the emotional blackmailing classic of shaming and guilting you for not considering her feelings over yourself. That alone should be an instant disqualifier for any and all long-term relationships. Especially the line, "I thought after being open and honest about my feelings you would have taken them into consideration." I can't help but reading, "I thought after being open and honest about what I want you would have done what I asked." She was open, she asked, she was given a good reason why her request was not doable. Her trauma is valid, but how does she not understand that the world is full of abusive ex's name? This. In its entirety. This is a beautiful response and sums it up in one. I couldn't say the name of my abusive ex for the longest time, but I understood that it was my trauma. I had a friend with the same name and I didn't let it impact that relationship because I know the difference. I just had to work through my issues and trauma. Now I can function quite well, and hearing that name doesn't make my mind jump to him or the abuse I went through. I found peace with myself and allowed myself to realize that it wasn't my fault and I could move on. Not the butthole. This. 1,000 times this. Your girlfriend has legitimate trauma, but asking you to have a tattoo of your son's name removed is beyond the pale. She cannot expect to be protected from some random name for the rest of her life. She needs to learn how to hear that name without having flashbacks and bad memories. Is she in therapy? I am very sympathetic to your girlfriend's situation, Tilda, as I am sure you are, Tilda, but avoiding the name is going to be much harder in the long run than learning how to deal with it. What if you two got married and had a daughter, and one day she brought home a boy with that name? Or your friends had a baby boy and named him that name? There are so many scenarios where she won't be able to control the situation and will have to deal with what triggers her. Dealing with the trigger is a better way to go for her. Puzzle-headed statement that your trauma and pain are just as valid as hers is really the only thing you need to say to her. Or it should be the only thing. I know intellectually she understands that, but it's still hard for her because the pain is still raw. That's where therapy comes in. I am so sorry for your loss. The loss of a child is something you never get over. You learn to live with it, but it is still always there. You and your girlfriend both have very real, painful past to deal with. I hope you can deal with them together. I do agree it's something she has to learn to live with and move on from, however hard that might be. I do believe that if the son was alive it wouldn't be an issue or near as big. It's probably much harder for her to change what that name represents to her without having ever met the son. There's no other person that can take some of the place of that name in her mind, which makes it harder to forget about. No buttholes here. This may just be a mutual deal breaker. Having experienced trauma, I can see why she is upset. That would be hard for me too. I won't date anyone with his name and I cringe when I hear it. However, that is your son's name and it is unrealistic for you to be expected to remove the tattoo. You loved him and you need that connection. It might be a good idea to just sit down with her and make it clear that while you respect her and can sympathize, you are keeping the tattoo. She can decide if she can get therapy and deal with it or if the relationship needs to end. Edit. Thanks for all the awards. I haven't had this happen before on a comment I've made and I appreciate it. Couldn't agree more. Wish I had an award to give you, because you've hit the nail on the head. No buttholes here. I got you, bro. Exactly, not the butthole. I can see, for example, having trouble during sex when she's trying to be intimate but is constantly reminded of her past trauma. Her request doesn't make her the butthole and your attachment to the tattoo doesn't either. If you're willing to budge, though no disrespect if you aren't, maybe a cover-up of just the name part with a symbol that represents your love for him. Respectfully, I disagree with this take. Asking for the tattoo of his dead son to be taken entirely off of his body for her is selfish, regardless of trauma or not. I empathize with the trauma of abusive relationships, but I also empathize with the trauma of a lost son. Tattoos are incredibly difficult to remove, and that's without the added obvious emotional strain. What if they don't work out in the long run? Your trauma isn't an excuse to exacerbate someone else's. Maybe butthole is too harsh, but she would need to take responsibility here and work on her trauma to the point she can see a name on her partner's body. This could be achieved by couples therapy. I really don't see how removing the tattoo is at all reasonable here. I have to agree with this. I feel bad she is suffering and I hope she gets the help she needs. I also understand dealing with that pain means she might have trouble being rational in this situation. However, there's no doubt this is a ridiculous, cruel and self-centered request. Original poster is also in pain. If someone else's expression of pain triggers yours, you need to A. Find a way to deal with it, or B. Remove yourself from the situation. I'm not saying Op's partner is a bad person, but there is no universe where asking someone to remove a tattoo of their deceased child isn't a pretty horrific request. I hope she is in therapy to deal with her trauma. Her request absolutely makes her a butthole. Oh, you know your tribute to your dead child. Go ahead and remove that. After all, I'm being open and honest. There are some things in a person's life that you just don't touch. Asking someone to remove a memorial tattoo, modify their body, because you need your trauma to be higher priority than their trauma is a really horrible thing. The girlfriend needs a reality check on what that tattoo means, and it frankly sounds like she has no empathy about his past. A cover-up tattoo is just as bad as fully removing it. It is an unreasonable request. Asking him to not go shirtless is reasonable, saying she is going to avoid looking at that part of his body is reasonable, even slapping a band-aid on it during sex is reasonable. But removal is not reasonable. Asking for someone to modify their body like this would be like asking someone to get a nose job because their nose is too similar to the ex's. It's a part of him. If she can't accept the whole package, she's been fooling them both. I have to disagree. Asking once if original poster would remove it would make it that, but getting angry that he won't let her trauma trump his makes her the butthole. Original poster is not the butthole. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.